Most people fall into the trap of chasing an avoidant after they get rejected, and it leads to a pretty predictable outcome. You basically become invisible to them. But one thing I can't help but notice is how many people talk about how different the experience is if you don't chase them. And if you really pay attention, avoidants go through this 7-stage breakdown. I think the perfect visual analogy here to describe this is an elevator. Of course, it's a matter of perspective. Avoidants who are in the elevator convince themselves they are going up. The reality, though, is they're going down. And I'd like to show you that journey from an avoidance perspective. One quick caveat. I know I just said this, but this whole elevator analogy completely falls apart if the person they are with or broken up with starts chasing them. This is a no chase zone. So let's start at the top with floor number 7, separation elation, or as I like to call it, the penthouse illusion. Now this one always comes as a shock to people because usually an avoidant breaks up with you and you're crushed. If they care, they'd be the same, right? Right? Well, understanding avoidance is a lot about understanding the binge. All right, for those of you playing the Avoidant Death Wheel drinking game, here's where you take your shot. Picture before you is my Avoidant Death Wheel. There are 8 stages, but all we really care about today are stages 2 and 6. The I'm happy I found someone finally stage and the I'm happy I've left the relationship stage. Avoidants don't just enter emotional states, they binge them. So in stage 2 of the death wheel, the I'm happy I finally found someone stage, they gorge on novelty and chemistry and attention and the dopamine hit of being wanted, right up until the moment of closeness starts asking something of them. That's when they feel emotionally full, almost sick of it. So they pull away. Fast forward to stage 6, the I'm happy I left the relationship stage. Well, this is separation elation, but at its core, it's just another binge. This time, they're binging on freedom. And that's really where avoidants start in our elevator analogy. Now, I chose to call this floor the penthouse illusion stage because to them, it feels like they're living large in a penthouse, but no one lives in a penthouse forever, unless I guess you're some multi-millionaire or billionaire. But the ultimate problem with binges, whether it's food or substances or emotional states, is they don't last. Eventually, that elevator goes down to floor number 6, the slip, aka the party floor. It's kind of odd, right? I mean, why in the world would this be called the party floor when I just got done saying that the separation elation will wear off? Well, I'd like to encourage you to not look at avoidance as these binary beings. I think that's actually a huge issue in the talk and Instagram space. Everyone always likes to put avoidance in this box or that box and act as if they're not human beings. I hate to break it to you, but they are human. And as the separation elation begins to wear off, they start getting desperate trying to figure out how to prolong it. New hobbies, new people, overworking, partying, dating apps, you name it. The only requirement is that whatever they choose to invest their time in, it has to keep them from sitting still long enough to feel. And now we know why it's called the party floor. Music, movement, people everywhere, new hobbies, new faces, new distractions. The goal here isn't happiness, it's noise. This floor exists purely to avoid silence. But what I said about the separation elation phase exists here as well. The distractions can only last so long. Eventually, the elevator takes them down to floor number 5, where the cracks begin to show, aka the come down. All right, I have this really weird go-to song that I always listen to when I'm writing scripts for videos like this. Actually, usually I'll just put on some ambient music and go, but every once in a while, I'll play this instrumental song from the movie Cherry called The Come Down. But I always kind of viewed the moment that the song plays at the end to be this battle between euphoria and reality, the battle between wanting to stay high and happy and the reality of crashing. Now we see where the parallel is being drawn here. This floor that the avoidant has found themselves in is the come down. It is the battle between wanting to stay high while simultaneously being terrified of the crash. I mean, Think about all of the new hobbies, their new people, they're overworking. From your perspective, it may look like they're kind of thriving, but the reality is all of that is just them trying to outrun the nostalgia of you. And that's a game they're always going to lose, because after a while, those distractions stop working. The reality of the crash is inevitable, and this is the floor where they are coming to terms with it. Now, a lot of times when I'm doing an ad like this for the Cider Super offer, I'm only showing you the happy end result. Oh, hey, look, this person got their avoidant back. Oh, wow. Next in their descent is floor number 4, the intrusive thoughts floor, aka the film room. Attached defines the Phantom X as when an avoidant devalues a romantic relationship and wakes up long after the relationship has gone stale, only to forget all the negative things that annoyed them about their partner and wonder what went wrong, only to lead them to reminisce longingly about their long lost love. But I've always taken exception to this idea of a Phantom X. It insinuates that avoidants just focus on one, when the reality is they focus on many, crafting a type of Frankenstein Phantom X. And now you know why I call this floor the film room. All right, imagine you're with an avoidant as they enter this floor. What you see before you is all manner of film projectors, projecting all the best moments of your relationship with an avoidant onto a wall. But if you go a bit deeper into the floor, you'll see that there's more film projectors set up, projecting more great moments onto the wall. But these great moments aren't from your relationship. They're from the relationships that your avoidant had before you. This visual is always how I've explained the way a Phantom X phenomenon works for my clients. It's like walking through a car lot doing test drives, but never buying the car. You know, this car had great handling, that one had great speed, another one had a lot of comfort. But think about this from the avoidance perspective. They're forced to go through this room remembering all the good times, and that leads pretty nicely to floor number 3, the loss beginning to flood in, aka the flooded floor. Years ago, and I mean years ago, there was this old psychology priority test that used to float around Facebook. It usually goes something like this. You're at home and 4 things are happening at once. A baby starts crying, water begins flooding from the sink or bathtub, the doorbell rings, and the phone starts ringing. The question is, what do you deal with first? Do you get the baby first? The door? Do you deal with the flood? Whatever your answer is, it's supposed to reveal your priorities in your personality. The problem is that this test isn't based on peer-reviewed psychology or validated assessment science. There's no study showing that choosing the baby over the flood or vice versa reliably predicts any type of personality trait, attachment style, or priority. This test is nothing more than a folk psychology exercise. But does this mean it has no value? No. It just means it's pointing at something real without measuring it properly. What this test actually captures is stress prioritization under cognitive load. That's a lot, but think of it like this. When everything demands your attention all at once, your brain, it can't process it all evenly, so it defaults to whatever your primary coping strategy is. Some people move toward emotion, the baby. Some people move towards control, the water. Some people move towards distraction, the phone. Some toward avoidance, the doorbell. Now, why is this floor called the flooded floor? Easy. When an avoidant experiences a loss, when they're in the process of really feeling it, it'll be the equivalent of this pretend test. A phone is going off in the corner. Someone is knocking at the door. The baby won't stop crying, and the whole room is flooded. It overwhelms their nervous system, and since this is the flooded room and an avoidant wants to control as much of their environment as possible, they'll do something interesting. They'll aim to stop that water from flooding, and they do that by hopping in the elevator and going down to floor number 2, self-justification, aka the mechanical floor. All right, have you ever actually heard of a mechanical floor like in a hotel? It usually houses the HVAC, the electrical systems, the control panels, backup systems. You get the idea. This is the floor where the avoidant tries to patch themselves back together with self-justifications. This is where they tell themselves things like, you know what? Being alone is for the best. I need space anyways. I'm totally fine. They just came from a flood of emotions with floor number 3, and this floor is all about calming those emotions down. But notice, all the self-justifications have one thing in common. They take no ownership. That's the thing I've noticed about avoidance. There's no, here's where I shut down. No, here's what I couldn't tolerate. Because for a lot of avoidance, emotional stress collapses complexity. Even though they can be fluid, thoughtful, and nuanced, people in other areas of life under attachment stress, they tend to think in binary terms. Someone is safe or unsafe. A relationship is good or bad. They are the victim or you are the problem. There's very little room in that state for shared responsibility. Now, I often think that for an avoidant, holding that level of nuance likely means admitting to two painful truths at once. I was hurt and I hurt someone else. That level of emotional integration feels overwhelming when their system is already fried. So the mechanical floor does what it's designed to do. It shuts down complexity, restores order, and keeps the system running. But the truth is, they're a long ways away from the good old days in the penthouse. They've tried to hold on, failed, tried to distract, failed, been forced to relive the best moments with you, and ultimately, when that failed, the loss came rushing in. No level of maintenance is going to hide the fact that they've already been cracked open and no amount of rationalizing can fully seal it off again. And that's terrifying, which just pushes them further down to floor number one, the crossroads, aka the lobby. Well, here we are. We made it to the lobby. If you really think about it, lobbies in and of themselves present everyone with an interesting choice. You're either going to go back up the elevator or you're going to go out into the world. And that's effectively the choice offered to avoidance at this very moment. They can either choose to connect with you or with someone else, the equivalent of stepping out of the elevator. Or they can choose to retreat inwards. They can go back to the elevator and go back up into their penthouse, their internal happy place.